We went from talking about long distance marriages to talking about the Supreme Court justice to talking about racial disparity. Pretty good. Pretty good, husband. Hi, welcome to Kina Reads. This is Kina. And you are joining me and my husband on a Zoom call. We are recording this particular session via Zoom because he is working and traveling in the process. And so that leads us to a great subject matter when it comes to marriages is long distance relationships or traveling while in marriages and you're in separate places, because there are a lot of people who have marriages where one of their significant other is in another place than where they are, maybe for a very long time, maybe for short periods of time. That they are in different places, but we're just going to talk about the effects of that and hopefully just come up with some ideas of how you can maintain in your marriage, the good and the bad of it. So where are you now, Charles India?
I'm in Michigan. I'm in the state of Michigan, Ann Arbor, Michigan.
Okay, and the type of work that my husband does, he travels basically from state to state based on what his employer, or he has a consultancy business. So as well, whomever is employing him at the moment calls for him to do. So he travels a lot. And your consultancy business is called?
Wemja Consulting.
Right. And so based on what he is called to do, he is up and running and going for different places. So what that happens is that we have what I like to term as a home base. You have a home base, that place that you call home, where your cars are registered and everything, which is Florida. And then you have everywhere else that you are able to go to. But it does create some special circumstances in marriages, because not most marriages, I would say, probably are not like that, where they will probably both go to the same house every day. They go to work 9 to 5 and they come back to the same home. However, and if there's a delay in the internet, I apologize. Because I'm still out in the country living, and he's probably in a hotel somewhere. So the internet is a little bit different. So anyway, if there's a delay, apologies ahead of time, but stick with us. So what I was saying was that there are special circumstances that kind of surround marriages where one of the spouses is constantly moving about, whatever that may be. And the question is, how do you maintain when one of you is constantly going about, or if both of you are constantly going about? I'm sure people who are in the entertainment business know this very, very well. People who are comedians and people who are in politics and people who are doing movies probably understand this particular construct very, very well. But I don't think a lot of people who have 9 to 5 jobs quite understand the dynamics of people who work away from home a lot and whether or not they could do it. What do you think about that? Charles. I've been talking a lot. I'm going to probably edit a lot of that.
Yeah, like you said, a lot of people do it, but it has its challenges as well because, yeah, of course, it's always good to be home all the time with the family and all that. So normally, what I do, if you've noticed, I, I stay in touch a lot with phone calls, text messages, sometimes video calls. Just the same way I'll do when I come back home, I'll tell you about my day. Usually I'll keep a constant update on what I'm doing, what's working very well, and the challenges so that, exactly where I am. If something is frustrating or I'm happy about something, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So I think it helps to keep constant contact. There's a lot of technology these days. Back in the day, I remember sometimes my father would travel, either go to school or work in another country. The communication was, my mother and him would write each other letters and phone calls, which were landlines back in the 80s. But this time, we have mobile phones, text messages, we have video calling. I think it's a little bit better than easier than it was in the 80s, I think. So I think that helps a little bit. It still doesn't replace being home, with you and the child, but you make the best out of it. And of course, whenever there's an opportunity to visit, to get an opportunity, even for a day or two, it helps a lot. But sometimes, it's just sometimes work and schedules just do not allow for regular visiting. I think this time around, I think I've worked in 2 states without visiting home. Worked in Washington State, now in Michigan. So, yeah, but I'll figure a way to be home soon. Or you could come here.
Well, yeah. So you either make plans to come home or we make plans to come visit you. That's one aspect. But like you said, that you communicate daily and sometimes 2, 3, 4 times a day that we talk on the phone. So constant communication. Going through the day and what is happening. So I guess when in the bigger picture, when you're like, if you were giving advice to someone else who is thinking about taking a job or starting a business that requires them to do a lot of traveling, what would you say to that person, but man or woman, it really doesn't matter the circumstance? What would you say to them as advice when it comes to either they're going to start a business or they're going to be employed by an employer who is going to have them on the road a lot? Like one thing that I would say before I ask for your advice is that as the person who's at home base, you have to keep the end in mind. You have to keep what the end result in mind constantly, because it can be frustrating sometimes. So, but I think the thing that sustains me is knowing what the end goal is in mind. Like, for example, your business, being in with an employer that you enjoy, things like that help sustain me when I'm thinking, oh, I just want him home, And then also the next thing that sustains me is the constant communication. If you were not communicating as much as you did, we'd probably have a problem, but you communicate. So, that helps because I can't imagine being in long distance constantly and then not having the appropriate amount of communication. Now, appropriate is based on the person, because the person may not be like me who needs 3 and 4 contact calls a day. There might be somebody who's just like, yeah, call me once and we're good. So it just depends on the relationship when I say that. But I think that from my point of view, communicating and as I said, keeping the end in mind is very important. What about you?
Yes, of course. The first thing I did was, explain to you, I'm going to be working out of town. The end result is these are the goals and objectives. And also, we talked to Chanda, that's our son, just to frame him, this is the reason why I'm going to be away, I'm doing this, I'll coming to visit once in a while, just so the whole family understands that, you're not just away just to be away, that you have a goal in mind, you have objectives and goals to achieve. That's why you're doing that. And then, of course, keep that constant touch. I think there was one very good lesson. I don't know if we listened together from TD Jakes, where he was talking about, being away a lot and how people can just get used to living without you. So,
No, it's
usually
true.
when you come
Yeah,
back,
you create this whole ecosystem without a person. Yeah, yeah.
So this is why I keep constant touch. Like I try to get a lot of details on how your day is going, what you're doing. So, and I do the same. So when I come home, I don't have a whole lot to learn on what's happening, or you have a lot to learn on what I'm doing here. That way you keep what we're doing as close as possible. Almost feels like you've been in the same space, even when you have not. You see how, you'll be at an event, or I'll be at an event, and I'll constant update you on what's happening. So we are kind of seeing that event at the same time, like a family outing without being together. So that helps a lot. So,
and even the small things, like it doesn't have to be a major event. It can be something small, like today we went to a park and I sent you a picture. Did I send you a picture of your child? Or emailed you, or text you something. I texted you something that had to do with what we were doing today. And it wasn't a major thing. It was just like, this is every day. This is everyday things. And I think that's more important than major events, actually, because that does keep you in contact with small things. Yeah, but major things too.
Yeah. Yes. Exactly. So it helps a lot. So when I'm coming home, I'm trying to plan something to do. I don't know what else, but has been doing, you, Chanda, me. So we can easily talk about an event and compare it to past events, like we've been living together. So that helps a lot. It helps avoid the disconnect or people getting used to living without you, because you try to be in the loop and everybody knows what everybody's doing, and you keep together that way, making it easy. It still doesn't replace being home, like I say, but you make out the best out of it. We have goals to achieve. Sometimes it calls to be away from home. It's not permanent, but it's just best to find the best way to deal with that. Initially, I never thought that at any point I'll be away from home like this long. Yeah, I think this is what I've been. Yeah, I think it's been probably, it's way over a month, right?
Yeah.
Because I didn't return home when I went
The
to
last
Washington
time you were
State.
here, I was recovering from surgery. So, yeah.
Oh yes, that's right. yeah, so it's been a little while. So I think those little sharing little things and keeping each other in the loop, using technology, text messages, phone calls, video calls, and just constant updates. This is what I'm doing. This is my day was like. This is what I'm planning to do tomorrow. I think it helps a lot.
Yeah. I mean, I'll even text him about silly stuff. We'll share jokes over Instagram. Things that are like probably completely mundane to someone else, but that is truly a part of a marriage. Even the small little insignificant things that someone wouldn't think is important are important. Like, what did you eat for lunch? How was the weather? Like, it really does make a difference. Because you do feel like you're with that person. Is the are the people you're working with nice? Telling them about the day and who's what and what's what. Really does help, talking about the news of the day and things like that. Yeah, with that in mind, so what's your opinion of the new Supreme Court justice? I don't think we've talked about
Yeah,
it.
I'm over it. Yeah, I wasn't expecting that one. Okay. Yeah, I'm very happy about it. Yes, I think it's a great development. Um, it's good to see uh, that happen in this generation.
Mhm.
So I think it was an amazing sight to see uh, uh, the newest Supreme Court, the incoming Supreme Court judge standing next to Kamala Harris, who's also a
Mm,
woman of color, Vice
yeah.
President of the United States. So very not long ago, I wouldn't have thought that I would see it in my lifetime. So I'm very happy about that.
And I find it interesting because, like, from your perspective, excuse me, I'm like, it's from your perspective, um, because you were brought up in a place where, it's normal to see Black individuals in positions of power, right? So, whereas I was not like, so it truly, I cried tears of joy, but also, um, it's a profound moment. Like, I just really, really sat and thought about it. The amount of time that it took to get a Black woman, on a bench for Supreme Court justice for the highest court. And then to see what she had to go through. She is the epitome of that saying that people have been saying since the beginning of Black Americans in particular have been saying, that you have to be twice as good to get half of what they have. I truly believe that she was the epitome of that, because she herself had far more experience, even clerking experience, than any of the other previous people that were confirmed to the court. And they ran her through the mud. And the way that she just stood there and answered the questions, it put a whole new emphasis to me on just sticking through it. Like, no matter what is coming at you, know that it is yours and stick through it, no matter what, because that's just part of how the game is played. But the fact that they weren't willing to support her, and she was the most qualified judge they had probably in the history of judges, is amazing to me. And she just, that whole saying, you have to be twice as good to get twice as what they have, just like, it would just ring loud in me as they were going for her. And half those questions had nothing to do with her. Like, they had absolutely nothing to do with her whatsoever. And so back to your perspective, it's like, okay, so you're coming from a country that has allowed, you see people who look like you in positions of power all the time, Does that make a difference when you see it in the US? Or is it just like, it's another day?
It still does make a difference because um, I've followed US politics, ever since I was a child, or just world politics in general. So, so I've been following them. And I know that, the what's this? I haven't seen many Black people in positions of power. As a matter of fact, back in 2008, when um, when Barack Obama was the Democratic candidate, I remember one of my friends. I think I was in South Africa, and a friend of mine who is also African told me and bet $1,000 that there's no way Barack Obama is going to be president of the United States because he's Black. It doesn't work like that. It's not time yet. So it's going to be John McCain. And I said, things change, bro. Things change all the time. And of course, we saw history being made. So I'm very much aware of how things work in this country. Zambia is predominantly Black. So you see the president, vice president. A lot of times we'll have the entire cabinet full of Black people. A few times we've had a few white people in there and other races, mixed races in there. Yes, so, but I'm also aware of what happens elsewhere. I know what happens in the United Kingdom, what happens in the United States. So,
did you say mistresses?
Mixed races.
Oh, okay. That's why I laughed the way that I did. I was like, oh no. Because I was like, wait a minute. Let me have him clarify. Go ahead.
Now, so yeah, sometimes the accent can get it into trouble.
Get you in trouble, honey.
I pronounce things a little different. So yeah, sometimes I have to repeat things so people understand exactly. So yeah, English is not my first language. So
no, I mean, the internet was cutting up too.
Maybe I'm going to, what was that?
The internet was cutting up too, like it's glitching. So you kind of catch a word.
No, I was talking about, I was talking about the composition of positions of power, like cabinet. So I was talking about it's majority Black in Zambia,
right,
and a few other races in there, white, Indian, and mixed, as in mixed races or mixed colors.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So what did you think? When we visited Zambia, I think you mentioned something about saying that many Black people in one place.
It was awesome.
How was that?
Like the only other time I'd ever seen anything like that was Atlanta. So it didn't take me off guard, but at the same time, I was just kind of like, it kind of dawned on me that the majority of people around me were Black instead of white. And I was just like, and it was normal. And it was normal. So it wasn't like and it was calming, and you feel safe, like you feel safe I don't know if I can put that in words. You're first taken aback that every position that you see, for the most part, is a Black person, from the person in the airport to the person who's at the clerking, to the taxi, to the hotel people, to the stores. And then it just slowly dawns on you that this is a nation where it's a majority Black. And then it's like, but they're still functioning. And the lies that people tell about Black communities, it's like, like you kind of have a revelation all at once. And then you're like, and you notice how safe you feel. Like you don't feel unsafe. Like I didn't feel like a police officer was going to pull me over for no apparent reason. You you just, that's the clock. We have a new clock, by the way. I forgot to tell you about that. Chimes on the hour. We just got it yesterday.
Oh, okay.
And so it's a walk.
Nice.
Chimes on the hour, and then our daddy gave it to us. My daddy, your daddy-in-law, daddy. So,
That's nice of him.
it just chimes on the hour. So anyway, the thing that I felt is that I felt safe. Like I never felt uneasy, and you made me feel comfortable. And in the moments that I may have felt uncomfortable, you made me understand the cultural relevance. So it's just like, oh, okay, well, I'm comfortable. You're like, as long as, you know what I mean? As long as it makes sense, and it made sense. Like, it just made sense. So yeah, it dawned on, it's just like, oh, look at all these Black people, grocery stores, everywhere. And the only other place that I'd ever been like that, where I was surrounded by Black people, was Atlanta. And even then it wasn't 100%. So it was just like really awe-inspiring, really. And the second thing that took me by surprise was how late people are up at night. That's down the road, selling their wares and things like that. That right there, I was just like, wow, they don't stop. They're like 24 hours selling, That's amazing. But that speaks to how safe it is.
Dark early. Yeah, but it also gets dark early in Zambia, because at any time in the year, there's no place in Zambia that goes beyond 7 p.m. There's daylight. So by 7 p.m., it's completely dark anywhere, whether it's summer or winter. Of course, in winter, it gets dark early.
Right.
It's not like here where it will be 9 p.m. and you can still see daylight. The sun is still setting when it's summer. In Zambia, it always gets completely dark by 7 p.m., whether it's summer or winter. So when you see them at 7, they're still trying to do things. It looks like it's really late.
They were out there at 12 and 1 o'clock.
But the point is they're doing it in the dark, so it gives you a sense of safety, right?
Right. I mean, there were women out there at 12 and 1 o'clock in the morning, and I was just like selling, fruit. And I was just like, that is amazing. They must feel extremely safe where they are, So yeah, that was a whole different perspective. You wouldn't see that. Like they're legitimately selling fruit. They're not selling anything else. And that is what is crazy to me, like at 1 o'clock in the morning.
It's also, it's a whole different environment. Like it's never it's not heard of that a traffic stop will result in anybody getting shot. I've never heard of it.
Right.
Incidents happen, yeah, but where a traffic stop results in a tragedy because of confrontation with the police officer, or there's literally no profiling, because everybody looks the same. There's no racial profiling.
Yeah.
Because most people look the same. So yeah, it's not, we don't have so many of racially motivated interactions, especially negative ones.
Everybody's equal at that point, because it's not racially motivated. Mm-hmm. And that is where you're trying to get here in the US, where it's not racially motivated, we're just equal. You don't see it. And you don't even think about it, because why would we think about the color of our skin? Like, why would that even be an issue? And when you're in a place that's homogeneous,
in Zambia,
they call it homogeneous, that has
Yeah.
all the same people, people don't think about skin color at all, because why would you think about it? And so you're trying to get to that here in the US, where why does that even matter? You know, that particular part. Like, a person could be good or bad, but it has nothing to do with their skin color. You know, if you have to pull somebody over for a traffic stop, let not their skin color be the reason that you pulled them. Let it be because they were committing a crime, or you saw, you know what I mean? Something that actually was legitimately a reason to pull somebody over, regardless of what their skin color was. So, or any issue, if someone's walking through your neighborhood and you feel uneasy, let it not be because they are a particular color, but because it really is nobody that you've ever seen before in your neighborhood, and you lived there 20 years, and it's like, well, who is this person? You know, like, no matter what their race is, you know? So anyway.
Yeah, it's sad. Happens all the time. And the firm, I've been in Michigan for what, maybe 2 running to 3 weeks, maybe. So I've already seen some incidences that are just unbelievable, that is racially motivated. So yeah, it's just sad.
Oh my goodness. I'm sorry to hear that. But you're okay.
Yeah, I'm okay. It's
Michigan has issues, obviously.
they're not good. Yeah, the bad development, we're aware that they happen. It's bad when they happen, but maybe we'll get to where race will not determine how people are treated. So,
And that is the hope.
one day.
That is the hope. Okay, so we went from talking about long distance marriages to talking about the Supreme Court justice, to talking about racial disparity. Pretty good. Pretty good, husband. I think so. I thank you for joining me tonight.
Thank you for doing this with me. Well, thank you for having me on.
Awesome. I hope that I'll talk to you later. I'll talk to you later.